When you're an empath, there's literally an energetic cord that plugs from you to them. And depending on where that cord is, it relates to certain emotions, certain experiences. There's many different modalities out there. Once you train this awareness, it's like you see life in a whole different way.
I bet you, if you think about it, you can identify one person in your life that drains your energy. Like, you feel perfectly fine before talking to them, and then after you are exhausted, you got to eat some sugar or you need a nap. Today, I'm talking with Dr. Jason Yuan. He's a naturopathic doctor who spent 10 years studying something called pranic healing. He's going to explain exactly why this happens to us. There's something invisible, these energetic cords that literally connect between people. And he's going to share a simple trick that involves salt and a shower that he uses to cut these connections so you can reclaim your energy and come back. He also dives into some wild research from MD Anderson Cancer Center, showing us how one person's brainwaves can actually change cancer cells. If you ever felt like you're picking up on other people's energies, or you're curious about energetic healing and how it can change your physical health, this episode is really going to blow your mind. Check it out. All right, Dr. Jason, you, sir, are a lover of energy healing.
Yes.
You are really passionate about it. And it's funny because you're meeting me at a crossroads where I'm coming from the somatic nervous system world right into the stuff that you can't really touch and ground because it's so abstract, and that's energy.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to get into some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Very simple one, really quick off the bat. Are we all made of energy?
100% yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the energy is dysfunctional, can that lead to physical disease?
Yes. So the sort of concept I always teach is that the energy, this field of information, is like the blueprint for not only your physical health, but also for your emotional body too. So if you change the energy on a top-down level, you can sort of sort out the emotions and eventually fix the somatic, the nervous system, and the other physical parts of the body.
Amazing stuff. Okay. We're going to get into all of this, viewers and listeners, okay? We're just doing rapid fire right here, appetizers. Can you feel people's energy before a session?
Yes. It's like a switch. So if I turn it on, turn it off, I can feel on demand. Yeah.
Is energy healing accessible to everyone?
Yes. If you can learn it from someone, you can learn it, apply it for yourself. And it's very simple.
What is one of the most memorable clients that you've had, patients that you've had who've had energy healing and who've seen physical benefit? What have you seen healed physically?
You know, Christian, it's a boring example, but pain is so simple to me. Like chronic pain, acute pain, like within 5 minutes, I work on someone, like if it's an 8 out of 10, 3 out of 10 within 5 minutes. So it's simple, but for me, it just makes all the difference.
I mean, who the heck wants to live in pain, right?
Yeah.
So when you say chronic pain, do you touch them or is it all energy field?
So that's a great question. There are many different types of Biofield therapies. The one I practice specifically is non-touch. So that one is called Pronic healing. Mm-hmm. But there's many that do touch.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And can energy healing help anxieties, depression, mental health issues?
Yes, and we'll get into the research, but for me, part of my work, that's like 60 to 70% of the root cause of the physical health issues comes from the emotional, as you know.
All right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for the rapid fires here. Viewers and listeners, we are going to get in it today because you know this is something that I've been particularly passionate about. I just mentioned I'm at this crossroads, and I've really been enamored with how Jesus healed. It's just something out of nowhere. You know, I grew up Christian and then it came out of nowhere. I stopped. I was just very spiritual and then it just stopped. And then I was like, how did he heal? What was the healing like? How did he view the people that he was healing? Was he working on energy fields? It all comes down to energy. And I was like, okay, so if we start with healing from the energy, do we start seeing really big benefits? So I want to thank you for your work, first of all.
Yeah, thank you.
Viewers and listeners don't know that you and I came from the same alma mater for medical.
Same school,
OG, UB in Connecticut. So naturopathic, we don't really learn this stuff here.
We don't.
So where where did this come for you? How did energy healing come into your field so you're gifting it to people now?
That's a great question. And we were talking about earlier, Christian. The way I found naturopathic medicine was through the energy work side. So to make a long story short, I grew up with chronic disease. It was severe eczema, tried all the things allopathic medicine had to offer. But for years, I couldn't figure it out. And my family is Chinese, so I had exposure to traditional Chinese medicine. So a different world of looking at health and well-being. So I tried acupuncture, and that seemed to move some energy in my body, but it was really through meditation in itself. I had some sort of mystical meditation experiences that sort of like blew my mind, and it showed me like this world isn't just the physical. There's the energy component. And that sort of started my search, and eventually, I wanted to learn more about it on a grounded level too with medicine. So that's how I found naturopathic medicine as well.
Amen to that. I love that. But you were a skeptic.
Yes.
You were a skeptic of energy work, okay?
Yes.
And can you tell me, what was your skeptic mind like against this stuff? And then how did that transform?
Yeah. And I think, for us, especially going through the sciences, the medical profession, you tend to think with a left brain mind. But a lot of this type of work, as you know, Christian, the right brain tends to accelerate it. People that are more right brain, they tend to have better outcomes.
Yeah.
They're more sensitive to this energy. So for me, my sensitivity, it was there, but I wasn't 100% sure, like most people, when they're feeling this field around yourself or other people. But really simply, as I kept practicing these techniques, and the main modality I practice is pranic healing. So pranic healing is a non-touch energy healing modality. It's similar to Reiki, but it's much more systematized. So the way I describe it, it's like acupuncture without needles. So I'm also an acupuncturist myself. And what really made it, for sure guarantee for me was when I do acupuncture, it would work like half the time. But then when I add in the pranic healing, it would work like 95% of the time.
Acupuncture is focused on these meridians, right?
Yes. Yeah.
When we come to energy healing, is it the same thing? Are there just these roadways of energy that's traveling through our body?
Yeah, that's where we can get really like micro from the macro.
Yeah.
As you know, most people know the 7 chakra system. So that's the very macro big picture. And with acupuncture, what I tell people, it's like you have these mini chakras, right? There's all these different points around the body, but they're connected by these highways, energy, meridians. So, you can go complex or very simple when it comes to that. Yeah.
So you had 20 years of, was it eczema that you were suffering with?
Yeah, I mean, even I'm going to be 31 in a month. So it's not like I crossed over, but basically 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you go back and say, okay, like I'm starting to get better, I've gotten better, I'm healing, wow. How do you even put into words what has helped you from the energetic side? Do you feel that you were addressing deeper childhood stuff? Was there an environmental thing that you needed to remove the environment from you that was affecting your energy? What did you realize in this healing?
Yeah, so I think that anyone with chronic disease knows that it's hard in itself because you've tried everything that's supposed to help you and it doesn't. And that has a certain effect on your psyche, right? So there's that mind-body component. And for me, of course, that created like body dysmorphia, that created low self-esteem, low confidence, not being able to express who I was because literally my body was like shedding like every day, like a snake. So I didn't feel comfortable even believing that I could heal because the outside environment and, my experiences didn't give me like hope for it. So I think part of what energy work did for me, and as you know, with the emotion side, so all these thought forms, all our emotions, they're like, it's like smoke, it's like clouds all over your field. And for certain parts of my body, especially it was with my heart, my throat, and my solar plexus, it was very congested, right? I wasn't able to express certain parts of myself. So what I realized, the eczema was actually a way of my body to heal. It was the way of releasing this stress, anxiety, worry, fear. So in that sense, it was a positive, but it took me some time to realize eventually, and this is how I got on my journey, when you remove this congested energy on your field, the body, like I told you, the energy is like the blueprint for the physical body, and the emotions are in the middle. So when you address the energetic part, my emotions, the way I speak, express myself, it became a little bit easier. And then finally, at the bottom, my body was also starting to show some results with healing. Yeah.
That's the most downstream, the physical, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to put it. You know, me being visual, I want to see the clouds, right?
Yeah.
And so are you saying that many people who are suffering with chronic diseases have some sort of cloud disturbance in their field?
Yeah, it's some type of what I call energetic disturbance. It goes back to the concept of acupuncture too, right? Acupuncture defines health as this free flow of this qi and blood, this energy throughout the body. And disease appears for two reasons. Number one, deficiency. So there's no energy in that particular part of the chakra, organ, whatever. Or congestion, right? Excess. There's too much energy, but it's not too much because your body's producing too much. It's like blocked. So it's like traffic on the highway. And for most people, it's congestion, right? They have some things blocked, holding up the energy, and that's creating this field, this cloud over them. Yeah.
So this field and cloud, this congestion, this block, does it begin by a moment where we shift our lens and perspective to something, our relationship to something? Is it a continuous mindset story that we've created in reference to that? What happens that creates that block?
Yeah, so this is where we kind of get really deep into it, right? Because this is where we talk about root cause healing, which I'm really passionate about. So all of this information I've learned from Pronic healing. So I have to give credit to my teacher, who's the founder of Pronic healing. His name is Master Choa Koksui. Today is actually his birthday, actually.
Happy
so
birthday,
it's very
Master.
Serendipitous. But what Master Choa says in Pronic healing, which is just a modernized form of energy healing, is that certain thought forms, certain belief systems, they're literally entities, right? They're not like conscious like the way we think of it, but they're alive and they're in the field, okay? And the way I could describe this, especially for addictions like smoking, gambling, any other types of addictions, you learn to feel their field and you learn to find the specific qualities of this energy, these across the field. Sometimes I just try to blanket it and I call it the Biofield, and there's this field of information, but it's a lot more alive and it's more active than we think. So in that sense, when you remove these energetic entities, the energy corresponds to the emotions. Your emotions start to open up, right? And then, as you know, the opening up process is not a straightforward path to healing. You might have to purge even more. Some people might feel even more sick or might have a physical reaction, but that's totally normal because you're pulling out all these layers, right? So there's always that tip of the iceberg. So that's why I say, like, for energy work, it's really diving deep into their subconscious, their belief systems, their past experiences, especially in childhood. And that only forms and creates these, the quality of their field.
I see. So would you say then the biggest disruptor to the field is a mental story or a emotion that's repressed?
That's a great question. I think that they're both intertwined. I find that for me and how I process these things, I find that their thoughts tend to come first, and then the emotions, and then the physical body. Because the thoughts comes from above that is their belief systems, right? There's a certain conscious, subconscious, superconscious belief system that is producing certain patterns of thinking. And that pattern of thinking, right, when you think of a certain thought, it'll produce a certain emotion. If it produces a certain emotion, it has a certain effect on the physical body. You'll take different actions, different behaviors. So that's how I think of it. But what's cool is that if you fix one cogwheel, right? If you just focus on the emotions, that will fix or help fix the mental and the physical side too.
Yeah, I've seen that because I've been working on the emotional realm, you know that. And I've seen mental stories change. Sometimes they're together, you know, there needs to be a addressing of that. How then does a emotional disruption or mental disruption manifest in the physical body? Is it back to that congestion or depletion? Is it an organ doesn't have enough? Is it manifesting as slow blood flow, as inflammation?
Yeah.
Is there a mechanism even that research has ever found? They'll never find it, but is there anything that's been found?
Yeah, well, that's a great question because this dives into the field called psychoneuroimmunology. I'm sure you heard of it. It's just the whole mind-body connection, right? With how your brain, with the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nervous system, and basically how, you know, and this is why I find like the true cogwheel to all of this is our consciousness. We talk about energy, right, being the medium, and I find that the energy, this field, is the bridge between the mind and the body. But what moves this energy, what directs it, is our intention, is our consciousness. So with that being said, there's a lot of research, and I'm happy to talk about some of them to kind of show you.
Let's ground it in some research, because I know you love the research. And when I go on your page, you know, maybe the first time I found you, you were talking about quantum physics, and I say, oh, okay, all right, I love this, you know. So that research and anything else that is coming up where we can really start grounding some of this, what are they seeing in the research? You know, when those nights when you can't just turn your mind off and you're desperately looking for a way to unwind, and some people even use alcohol just to get to bed, and you know you ain't getting a deep sleep with it. But I found something that's been a total game changer for me. I've been using these THC gummies from Cornbread Hemp for quite a while now, and honestly, they really can transform the way you relax before bed. And for me, I'm on the go, I got a lot going on, and my body can get really wound up during the day. And if I don't disperse that energy, then I'm going to stay up. I'm going to be wound tight. This really helps take off that edge, and I can lay in bed and just relax and go to sleep. So whether it's after a long day of recording here on the podcast, or I just want to chill with friends and just take it down a notch, these gummies really help me find a perfect balance. What makes Cornbread Hemp really special is they're America's only USDA organic THC gummy. We are talking real THC with organic ingredients, none of that synthetic stuff. I'm gonna tell you the best part. They're 100% legal and shipped directly to your door. All of their products are third-party tested for safety and purity, and you know that's what we love here at Heal Thyself. My two favorite flavors, Blueberry Breeze and Blood Orange Bliss. They're both absolutely fantastic. Right now, Heal Thyself listener, you can save 30% on your first order. Just go to cornbreadhemp.com/DRG and use the code DRG at checkout. That is cornbreadhemp.com/DRG. The code is DRG. Cornbread Hemp is for a good life. Let me talk to you something that has been a total game changer in my home, and it's probably not what you think. It is an air purifier, because what we breathe in matters as much as what we eat or drink. And air quality in our homes can be filled from everything from mold spores to pollen to smoke to allergies. And air purifiers are so important. Most of them are going to be in plastic boxes, make a lot of noise. And then I discovered the JASPR. The JASPR was brought to me by my sales team, and they said, this is a fantastic air purifier. And I looked into it, and it was true. I love it so much that I got the founder on. And what immediately caught my attention is the design. It's so many of the air purifiers are clunky, antiquated looking, 90s looking, and this is sleek, quiet, and powerful. But here's what really got me. It's built with steel, not plastic. So we're talking about machines that are actually built to last. So JASPR handles everything from smoke to mold to pollen, all the allergens that make you feel terrible without you even realizing why. Whether you're dealing with seasonal allergies, live in an area that is susceptible to wildfires or smoke, or just want the cleanest air possible in your home, get this. I am confident that you will love it. It has a lifetime warranty. Yes, lifetime. That tells you everything you need to know about the quality and engineering that goes into these units. Since I've been using my JASPR for about a year now, I have two running. One's on the first floor, one's on the second floor. I have three actually, one first floor, second, third floor. And I've noticed cleaner air, better overall sleep, and just an overall sense that my home environment is clean. The air is nice. We tested it. We have people come in and test the air and they say the air is super clean. Thank you, Jasper. Go to jasper.co/DRG and use the code DRG for $200 off for a limited time. That is JASPR.co/DRG. The code is DRG.
Yeah. So one of the best examples I can give to you, Christian, is literally focusing on this biofield work, this energy work. So there is a really frontier study out of MD Anderson Cancer Center, which is literally the top cancer center in the United States. Really great research they do. So what they found was they used a biofield healer. They used a technique called the Bankston method, if you're familiar with that. Okay. So no touch at all. But they hooked this guy up on a live EEG machine. So they were reading his brain waves. What he was working on was cancer cells, like dishes, okay? And they were also doing a live scan of the intracellular calcium changes in those cancer cells, in those dishes. So what they found was no touch, and they repeated this dozens of times. When his brainwave changed, when he started to do the healing practice, the cancer cells, their intracellular calcium levels dropped at the same time. So it's not suggesting a one-to-one, but there is some type of causality. They did this math. And so there's some type of connection there. How did his brainwaves change in real time to the drop in those calcium levels? Which, translation, less invasiveness of cancer, less metastatic spread. So this is why I talk about the field, but it's really about our consciousness and how it really directs this energy. Yeah.
Were they his cancer cells?
No, these were, I believe, just human pancreatic cancer cells in dishes. Yeah.
And this person who was trained in this method changed his brainwaves.
Yes.
And through that field, influenced the cells in a petri dish.
Yes.
Okay. So that may suggest that through energetic manifestation work or any energy healing, it can work on the level of cancer cells, maybe in the body.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought about, I don't know how true this is, man. I saw it years ago. I think it was a hospital in Japan, and there was like 5 doctors in a circle chanting, and you saw the tumor on imaging get smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know what
I've
was
seen
around
that
that.
one too.
I don't know, but it was really intriguing to me because I was like, I know, and I've known for a while, the collective consciousness is more strong than just one person. So 10 people focusing on one thing. Yeah. Think about like Joe Dispenza, what he does with these things.
Healing.
Coherence healing.
Yeah.
Is that what coherence healing is multiple people?
Yes. Yeah. So same thing to talk about the collective consciousness part and how that seems to be an amplifier. The studies coming out of Joe Dispenza's retreats, and also they did lab studies too, same thing. Breast cancer cells in dishes, group of healers, and it was in an incubator. And what's cool was that when they started the coherence healing, the incubator dropped down by 0.1 degrees, which is strange. And when they stopped the healing, it just went back to normal. So that was an anomaly. But going back to the study, same thing. Drop in cancer cell invasiveness, drop in cancer cell growth. So that, again, speaks to the power of the field, but really the field is driven by our mind and our consciousness. And this goes to placebos, like, well, placebo's in everything. And this kind of sheds light why placebo might be in everything. Because if you merely think about, positive states, that will have an energetic change to your field, and that'll affect other people as well.
I channeled some aliens.
I'm not there yet. I'm sure you'll have some people on here with that. Yeah.
So I channeled some aliens a few years ago, and it was through writing. So it was just nonstop writing, and it was like 150 entries. I ask a question, and my hand takes over, and it's just answering. And, I'm talking to you, and in essence, everything that was said comes back to your own relationship with self through a magical field, and that field influences our cells. But also what came through was the influence and even the mechanism of how it affects other people. And actually, your field can positively influence the cells of someone else's field, which brings to me like people in family units and family systems, how one person can sense another person's energy before they even walk in, the more sensitized you are. But also how someone who is in a really disrupted, cloudy field can actually negatively affect the physical health of someone that they live with, or positively. Would you feel that that's in alignment to anything that you've researched?
Absolutely. And that's where we talk about, what does it say? You're the average of the top 5 people that you most communicate, hang out with. And it's all about the balance, right? Your energy field, it's a sum relation total. And it's the same thing with coherence healing, right? That's why when people shift into these higher consciousness states, these meditative states, their brain waves seem to synchronize. And another way to talk about this, there's a follow-up study to the MD Anderson study, is when they used the healer and hooked it up, brain scans on the healer and scans on the mice. And what they found is when the healer started to do the work, the Biofield work, simultaneously as the healer's brainwaves changed, the mice's brainwaves also changed. So that's the first study ever showing simultaneous changes, maybe causality with the coherence of the Biofield work, again, changing the field and, everyone synchronizing to those changes.
This goes back to the Jesus healing stuff that I was looking at, right? Because when I've been researching, and shout out to ChatGPT for helping me research Jesus, right? I know someone's like, pick up the Bible. Yeah. I'm like, nah, but it's quicker.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that he created a field around him of divine coherent truth, of which the illusion of brokenness or illness can't live. It can't exist. Right. Simultaneously, he was mirroring his wholeness, an integration of all of self. And so that felt sense of who he was translating to their own physical translation of healing. It's pretty incredible. It's the not seeing someone as broken, which is sort of unwinding our whole medical training, which has been the hardest thing for me. For 3 months, I've been trying to unwind. This person's not broken, but this person is already healed. This person is already integrated. And this brokenness is not who they are. But going back to Jesus in that field, I think that's such a prime example of how one person's field can affect another person's field, even to the highest level of healing.
Yeah.
So with that said, do you do your own work to make sure your field is always clear, clean, open, spacious in order to set up the space for your client?
Yes. And shout out to Jesus, one of the great spiritual teachers out there. And I study all different types of religions and spiritual practices. And I see all these different practices as different roads up the mountain, right? But they're all essentially saying the same thing. And like you said, with, Jesus being a really, amazing, gifted soul, he was bringing down this truth. And again, it was consciousness, right? And he was always talking about plugging into something higher above him, right? He never said, it's through me. It's through me, but it's through plugging up through the vessel, right? The channel. And there's a concept in pranic healing. Again, a lot of what I know is through pranic healing. And there's 2 concepts for all healers out there that you have to know. When it comes to doing any type of energy work, or when it comes to just talking to someone and trying to help them, right? There's something called receptivity and conductivity. Receptivity basically means how open is your physical body, emotional body, spiritual body to the energy coming down, right? When you invoke, when you pray, right? You have to have, you shouldn't be bottlenecked. You should have a big funnel, right? So you're capturing all that energy. Once you bring in that energy, there's something called conductivity, right? So think of a copper wire, right? The more pure the copper wire, right? The more conductive, the more electricity is going to pass through. The thing is, not all of us are 100%, right? I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm not 100%. But there's a part called purification, which basically means we have our own limiting thought forms, belief systems, emotions that prevents us, even as a healer. Okay, maybe I can't heal this person. I haven't treated cancer before. What do I know about cancer? So conductivity is basically, once you have that energy, how much of it can you really project out? How much can you give? So it's receiving and giving. So it's like breathing. And that is the prime practice that I teach. And I try to work on myself too. As a practitioner, what I try to do is be as receptive as possible, which is turning off my left brain, right? Because sometimes they'll be like, oh, I'm picking up on this information. Like, what do I know about this person?
Yeah.
And then conducting it, right? Giving it and making sure I don't stand in my own way.
Yeah.
And whatever the client needs, as we were talking about with your hands and working on people, it sort of just takes over.
Yeah.
And that's really what we call the flow state, when you're really receptive and you're really conductive.
Every healer who listens to that, make sure you're receiving and conducting.
Yeah.
And clearing that vessel. It really seems to me it's like all these limiting beliefs that really get in the way. I mean, like, you're right. Like, there's moments where I've seen a client and I'm like, oh shit, I actually haven't seen this manifestation of repressed emotions, and I haven't seen someone who's gone through this disease path. And that, like, the imposter syndrome comes on. It's like, whoa, can I really show up? And then it's like, let me shut up and just be so present that I can just feel what they're saying. And that's it. It's like I turn off the mind and I'm like, let me just feel the person. And it's sort of like when people talk, at least in this type of work, it might be a little different, but what I see, they always reveal some stuff at some point. And if you're in your body and you can feel it, you sense it. You sense immediately, ooh, there's that's what's happening. That's sort of what the cloud, they're literally revealing the cloud at some point. It's coming out.
Yeah.
When we talk about these energy fields and clouds, it can block it. When physical disease is manifesting, is the throughway inflammation? Is that what's happening? Is it causing inflammation because it's so blocked up?
Yeah. And, inflammation is such a hot topic word. And as we know, Christian, there's good inflammation and bad inflammation. And as we were taught in naturopathic medical school, right? Even fevers are good for us, right? There's a purpose to why our body is getting hot, right? To kind of fight off these pathogens. And I think there's always a balance to this. And same thing with energy work. When we look at how this energy work affects the body, again, the model I always think about is this top-down approach. And I'm talking about this at an integrative medicine conference, saying how this biofield therapy work is a new way to look at health, right? And there's a term called whole person health, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which says that health isn't just physical, it's behavioral, it's social, it's environmental, it's spiritual. And the other component to this that ties all those things together is the biofield, right? Because all the biofield touches on every pillar of health in that sense. And when we talk about the biofield down to when we talk about inflammation, it's really attenuating the inflammation from a top-down approach, right? When we can calm the nervous system, right? Through removing this congestion or depletion in the body, right? The nervous system tends to course correct, right? Find homeostasis. And the way I describe it is really, and it's the same in acupuncture, it's really not the needles healing you. It's not the energy work healing you. Your body knows how to heal itself. It's just kind of taking out the bad software bugs and allowing your body, right? The software that it was built with, that inherently has great wisdom, to find its own way and to restart and kickstart that healing process.
So the clearing that field allows own intelligence. It says, go, you're open. And then it's like, thank you.
Yes.
Let's go back to that healing.
Yeah.
Which essentially at that point, then the disease doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it
to
just,
a certain extent.
Yeah.
If you look at that top-down model, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. When you say biofield, is that the quantum field?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because I think that this is a building field, which means it's relatively new, the biofield science, but the proper definition of the biofield is this field of invisible energy and information that is a reflection of the body's underlying physiological processes, right? So in that sense, biofield, which means life, right? But we all know that there's fields all around us, right? In this room, outside, and, you know, with Wi-Fi and everything, with our cell phones. But when we talk about the quantum field, it's a whole another, like pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Yeah.
It gets down a whole different loop, which talks about, you know, consciousness itself in the framework of reality, right? When we talk about these quantum fields, is like, you know, compared to, you know, binary computers, right? It's either a yes or no, a 1 or a 0. These quantum fields, it has all the potential, like all the possibilities, anything that could happen is in that one, is in that field. So there's a concept called entropy, if you've heard of it before. And healing, what healing does in the whole focus, one of the ideas to understanding biofield therapies is bringing the body from a high entropy state, chaos, disorder, disorganization, to a low entropy state, which is like things are organized, functional, moving in the ways it should be. So when you think of that, it's really organizing that information, right, into a way that the body's already built. It already knows how to heal and organize this. So there's a lot of physicists that talk about that. Yeah.
It seems to me that the biggest block of all of this is the mental disorganization, the chaos, the stories.
Yeah.
So then, I guess the bigger question in like just the fabric of reality, what's the point of the mental then?
Well, that's a great question. And I have to, again, give credit to my teacher, Master Choa Koksui, who talks about it. And this can kind of help with every healer, every practitioner, or even if you're a student interested in this work. So he describes that the body has 3 main parts. You have your physical body, you have your emotional body, and you have the mental body. Okay. And then what's controlling it is the soul, as they call it, right? This source of true higher consciousness, or what we call the higher self, right? So think of these 3 bodies like horses, and the soul is on a carriage, right? So physical body is 1 horse, emotional body is 1 horse, mental body is 1 horse. Each of them has a specific function, right? The physical body helps you move around the world. The emotional body helps you feel the feelings that come from actions and from your thoughts, which is what the mental body does. The mental body is much more complicated, right? Because we can think of all these abstract thoughts that the emotional body can't do and the mental body can't do. So each of them have a certain function to help this higher consciousness. I know we're getting into the spiritual part, this higher consciousness to move throughout this world. Okay, even though we don't see the emotional body, we don't see the mental body, we have experiences of it. What happens is, in really the mental body is important, same with the emotional, same with the physical, is that when the soul has control of these 3 horses, right? That's what we call a spiritual connection. That's what we, highlighted Jesus, right? He had a very strong connection to these 3 aspects to himself. That's when you can produce miracles. That's when life seems to move on autopilot. You get all these, synchronicities. You're manifesting so well, you're not even trying. That's because the soul can see from a higher level, right? Compared to the horses, right? Horses, they only have so much intelligence, but they have a certain function. So when we talk about true healing from this context, it's really balancing these 3 aspects, making sure they're working together, again, in coherence, right? And making sure that we're plugged up, right, to that universal source intelligence. And that's where I've seen the best healers. They don't need to do anything fancy. They don't need to explain anything. Like Jesus, he'll just come in, say a couple words, some guy will rise up from the dead, right? And then, there's a whole story about it now.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's beautiful, that the visualization. It's kind of like Plato's Chariot. You ever hear of Plato's Chariot?
Yes, yeah.
And so it's interesting because it seems to me that all of these horses have an influence on the other.
Yes.
Right? The mental is going to affect the physical, and the emotion is going to affect the physical.
Exactly.
So it's like they're not three independent entities. They're all connected to each other.
Yes.
But if I understand what you're saying consciousness, those are three routes of which consciousness expresses through.
Yes.
The mental, emotional, and physical route.
Yes. At least mandatory routes, because they're the vehicles to which we experience this physical plane.
Okay. Yeah. So isn't the mental route our own egoic story expression of everything? Is that connected to consciousness?
Yes.
Or would you say that it is more our own experience through free will and our own connection to just our own story?
Yeah, that's a slippery slope with the ego, as we know. And
where does the ego play into this whole picture?
Yeah. That's a great question. And as you know, Christian, when you do any spiritual work, when you're on public, thousands of people watching you, the ego is like what I call, it's like a sly baby pirate. It's really tricky. It'll like, oh, you should do this, you should purify yourself the best, you're going to be the best healer.
Right.
You're the most humble person out there. Don't say anything. Yeah. But in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I'm doing so well, tapping yourself on the back. And the ego, what I've understood it is a function of being here in this plane, because without the ego, we wouldn't be able to survive, right? Without the ego, we need food, right? Physical body. We need emotions, certain happiness, joy to keep, like pets or children. You need to make them happy. Otherwise, they're not going to be around too long. And then you need to have certain thoughts. And this is where we connect back to the ego. Because what I've learned on the spiritual path is that pride is the number one downfall of all seekers. Whether you're in energy work or other spiritual practices, pride is the number one challenge. You can get through all the other lessons. The final lesson is to deal with pride, which is the opposite side is humility. And that's because the ego is always there, right? When you're in this physical body, the ego is always present in all those three horses. And what I've learned, especially when working on the mental body side, is not to fight it, but to direct it, right? Because when you understand that the physical body, the emotions, the thoughts, it's not me, right? It's the product of these vehicles, but the person that is in charge is the soul. Then it's just like talking to a kid, like talking to the ego, rather than the ego controlling everything else. Yeah.
Are most of us with our ego controlling everything else?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. It changes second by second.
It changes second by second. Yeah. I love that we can get into the spiritual talk because it's such an important piece of healing that we sort of miss.
Yeah.
Like what doctor conventionally is going to speak to you about your spiritual connection, your source connection?
Yeah.
There's somatic people that don't talk about it. There's energetic
crazy,
people.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a huge part of
it's a huge part of
the
it.
Healing.
Yeah, it's a huge. So like being a clear vessel, connected to source, however you connect to it is essential. It's essential to healing. And viewers and listeners, don't let this slip through your fingers because this is tangible stuff.
Yeah.
You can meditate, you can connect to your body, you can be mindful, right? You can do whatever it is to connect. You can pray, you can do whatever it is, but don't let that not be part of your healing program. A lot of people lose track of that. So we really wanted to ground that. And I love that we got to talk about quantum because, bringing a whole relationship to consciousness and like, what is the world then? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll add one last piece is in the conference, we're actually talking about that. It's called epistemic equity, where that, for me, I'm a second generation, came from immigrant parents, and I have a certain way in culture around healing and health. And someone else that grew up, maybe in Central America, they have their own view of health and healing that corresponds to their cultures and spiritual beliefs. And what we're saying is with this biofield work, it's universal. It acknowledges their roots, and it only makes healing a lot more accessible, comfortable, and safe for them to express that part of themselves too. Because as you know, with the somatic work, right, emotions are universal. energy is universal. And it really, again, empowers back the patients, right? And talking about, the patient-doctor relationship that you're speaking about and trying to take out the brainwashing from people, that's the conversation we want to start talking about.
Big time. We want to reverse that. So, okay. So people viewing, listening, they're going to go, I'm really vibing with this combo, but what are some take-home things? What are some take-homes where I can at least focus on my energy? Because viewers, we got some smart audience here. They know all the physical stuff. They know herbs, they know nutraceuticals, they know diets, they know supplements. But there's another world out there that we don't know, we're not educated about, but you love and you work in this world. And so, like, what are some stuff that we can do at home to start getting our own work in?
Yeah, I think that, kudos to your audience, right? I see all your posts too, talking about the environmental, ingredients, and that's very important. The physical is definitely the foundation to a lot of this work, and that's where it starts. For me, it's the first step is always about awareness, and awareness in the sense that you know who you are, right? Know thyself, heal thyself, right? And part of getting to that awareness is meditation is one of the, it's not energy work per se conventionally, but it is. So when you have a clear mind, no thoughts, stillness, that's what a lot of these yogis talk about, is entering the state of nothingness, what they call sunya, right? So that is a way for you to tap into your mind, your consciousness, because what we're talking about at the end of the day, yes, we're talking about a field, but it's directed and informed by your consciousness. So practicing a contemplative modality that gets your mind still, like water. Okay, when your mind is still, things will just come to you, as you know. Certain intuitions, epiphanies. You'll see people a different way. You'll see yourself a different way, and that's really the foundation. Is that awareness. Once you have that awareness, then you can start trying these different practices. What I would say is grounding is a huge aspect, right? Getting into nature, trees, roots, feet to the earth, right? That change of charges and ions. That's another way to ground, because as you know, a lot of spiritual people, they're like an upside down triangle. They're energy. So they have a lot of energy up here, right? A lot of connection to Jesus, God, a source, but root chakra, not financially as strong, right? Not as practical. So what I always emphasize is balance, right? You can still be plugged up there, but be grounded onto earth, because you're here on earth. And grounding, going out to salt water, doing saltwater baths, that's a huge one too. I am a huge proponent of salt in your showers, because salt has a certain negative ions, but energetically, in pranic healing, we use salt as a cleanser. So when someone has like thick, heavy energy, especially when I'm working on someone with cancer, their energy is heavy, but sometimes it'll affect me as well. So I will take a salt bath, right? Just pouring like cups of salt. And the salt, what it does is it breaks down the energy, so it's a little bit looser. So then I can clean it off using the water. So those are a couple of practices.
That's a good hygiene practice.
Yeah.
Would that be a good practice for the many of us who are listening that are overly sensitive?
Yes.
We can feel into people. And then let's say, I can say personally, when I'm at a big group of people, I come home and I can feel like not mine stuff on me. I can feel it. And I have to shower and do a whole ritual before I even get into bed. And so there's a lot of people viewing and listening go, wait a minute, that's me too. But salt plays a huge role.
Yes, huge role. We use it in pranic healing. Literally, when other people do energy work, the energy, it comes out, right? But where does the energy go? It's still in the field. It's still in the room. So what we use is a salt bowl. It's really simple. It's a bowl of water with salt. The water holds the energy, but the salt breaks it down. And at the end of the session, we just toss it out, not in the sink, but in the toilet. So it's, again, energetic hygiene. And you spoke about being empaths, right? People that seem to take on other people's energy, and there seems to be no filter. That is a good way of, if you can't turn on and off your switch, that is a good way of clearing your field as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Hey, viewers, listeners, if you are sensitive and you go in a big group and you come back home and you're tired or you feel stuck somewhere, now we have some things that we can do. We could take a salt bath. You can take a shower and put some salt all over, whatever it is.
If you don't have a bathtub, that's what I recommend.
If you don't have a bathtub, just do that. And that matters, right? Because can we really take on people's energy?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it, right? And people, they don't necessarily have to feel it, but they know it. They have that gut feeling, which is that lower intuition, which is you walk into a room, you meet someone new. It's like, I don't know, something seems off with this person. And that's really the first baby steps to really this awareness piece in talking about energy work. And in pranic healing, we take it to the next level, because in pranic healing, what we can, and this is, I've been practicing for 10 years. When you're an empath or someone else is connecting to you, there's literally an energetic cord. It's called an energetic cord that plugs from you to them. And depending on where that cord is, it relates to certain emotions, certain experiences, right? If the throat chakra, it's about communication, right? If it's the back heart, it's about past, right? Anything in the back is about past. So past emotions related to, love and things like that. So this is why I there's many different modalities out there. I practice pranic healing, I have a bias towards it, but I'm a big proponent for all different types of biofield therapies, because as you know, once you train this awareness, it's like you see life in a whole different way.
This is important. You said something, because when you're talking with someone and you start feeling, what is that? I want you to go back to that, because it's really important information. When we're talking to someone and you're sensitive to that person, there's a cord that's created. Can you repeat that part? Cord that's created, and what happens? Is there a cloud that's created in our throat or our chest?
Yes.
Let's just review that, because I really like that.
Yeah. So this goes back to the teachings in pranic healing, which I love it because it makes it really simple, but it's very scientific too, because there's a way to understand this. So when you're talking to someone, or when I'm healing someone, there's going to be an energetic connection, right? It's simply, we know your fields converge, but more specifically, there is a certain energetic connection. Okay. Now, this is important when it comes to, people that you might not like, or you have conflict, right? They will subconsciously send cords to you, okay, to certain areas. And then you'll be like, I feel like maybe after a phone call, like I feel yucky, I feel drained, I feel like I just need to, walk outside or go to sleep. And this is the term energy vampires, if you've heard of that before. Like, people seem to be like draining your energy. So that comes from cords. So these energetic cords, anyone you interact with, again, two effects. They can drain your energy, or they can congest your energy, right? Like we talked about, right? Which is the root cause to what we understand disease is. Disease occurs if the energy is deficient or the energy is congested. So cords are another layer, another way of understanding this. So in pranic healing, in addition to doing the salt, right, there are certain cord cutting techniques. So when I'm done working on a client, I always disconnect these cords.
Or if someone's done talking to someone else.
Yes, too. Yeah. At the end of the day, when you're leaving work or anything, yeah.
So what can they do? How does that look like? Let's say someone just said, "Oh my God, I just interacted with my ex-husband or my ex-wife.
Yes.
I had to talk to him or her.
Yes.
And the cords, I can feel she's an energetic vampire. He's an energetic vampire. What now?"
So this is the fun disclaimer. I'm not allowed to reveal the techniques. I can describe it, but what I would say is, if for your audience that wants to see it in action, I recommend videos from Master Ko. He's one of the master pranic healers, and he teaches about it. I'm just not at that level to describe it. Just full disclosure. But very simply, it's a very simple technique. Basically, it's a very simple technique. And most of the time people will think, "Oh, how is this going to work?" It's almost too simple. It's almost too obvious, but it works. So I recommend people to look into pranic healing and Master Co. He's actually in California, and he teaches a lot of these classes, and he goes on tour with Tony Robbins, actually, and he does all the meditation energy work for the Tony Robbins people. Yeah.
I love that. Can someone's cord, or have a cord connection with someone, drain you virtually? Like on the phone or on a Zoom call, can you feel exhausted by a cord connection, or does it have to be in person?
Yes. Physically, in person, or virtually across the world, it doesn't matter. And this is how, people that do distance healing, right, on Zoom or whatever video call, it's the same concept, right? We are in this field of energy, right? And in this field, it does not go by conventional physics. So the mere thought and intention, consciously or subconsciously, you are connecting to them. And when you're connecting to them, there's that cord. Okay. So
even if it's a long one, 2,000 mile long cord.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that, man. Okay. Yeah. So, God, I still think about the shower thing. It's so easy and helpful.
Yeah.
I can think about that. Like, even next time I'm around all this energy and I'm talking to someone and it's just like, oh my God, I just at least have a practice to do. So it's really, really cool. People who are viewing and listening and want to learn more. I mean, you're in Jersey City?
Yes. Yeah. New York City, Jersey City.
New York City, Jersey City, New York, New Jersey, tri-state area.
Yeah.
Is that where they can find you for sessions? But you do virtual as well, right?
Yes, I do virtual distant healing sessions. I also do like the functional medicine, naturopathic medicine piece as well. I'm also a pranic healing instructor, so I also teach a course at the end of the month. It's also in New York City, August 30th to the 31st. So that's one of the few in-person events that I do. And I'm mostly now transitioning to like teaching and doing more of the research stuff because that kind of inspires me. But I'm still doing a little bit.
I love that.
There. Yeah.
And in your Instagram, you do some practices on just strangers in the street.
Yeah.
And how have you found that the strangers are reacting to you?
It's so funny. The spiritual side of me is like, oh, I'm like a pickup artist, but like I'm like a white magician pickup artist. You know,
right,
I'm really not trying to like show off. I'm trying to show that this works literally. It's again, the practice I use is pranic healing. People do Reiki and whatever, and I'm sure that it'll work too. But for me, it's just to show like these people are not making this up. I'm meeting them for the first time, and it's you're gonna get some funny faces. You're gonna get some skepticism.
Yeah.
But the idea is that even with the skepticism, when you work on this field, it's universal. So if they're open-minded, again, if they're receptive, right, if they're willing to receive, as the changes will happen.
Awesome, Dr. Jason. I appreciate you, man, for your energy work, the light that you bring for everyone. You feel very purposeful for me on this side. I feel it. And yeah, you're bringing that healing towards people, the next generation of healing. So thank you for leading that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Christian, for the invite, and a big fan of your work. I've actually known your podcast for a few years.
Oh, cool.
I love all the content that you produce, and you're doing an amazing job on your end as well.
It, man.
So yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you.